Hello dear Scrap Mechanic community. I wrote a tool for Scrap Mechanic survival to cartograph your survival map. I have not found any tool like that, and I find it quite convenient to use. The tool itself is currently called Scrap Mechanic Mapper, and it's the first version, the first release of it. This is how it looks like when you open it. You can just open it by double clicking it. When you first started, and in general when you started, it asks you for two addresses for the X and Y position of the player. We don't have them yet. You can use the tool when it is not linked to the game, but that currently does not make any sense if you have not put any addresses ever and did not do any drawing. All we have to do is we can join a new world, for example. I already moved in this one. It's my second recording attempt because the first one lagged like crazy. Okay, let me open this. There we go. I'm afraid currently we have to use Cheat Engine. I tried several ways to extract the position from the game without using Cheat Engine, using the Lua Not Really API and using the survival scripts. I was able to put the XY positions into the clock time of the game, but the problem is that for that you need to have the dev mode enabled, and I think if you tweak the survival values, then it refuses to multiplayer with other people. So that is why I'm still using Cheat Engine. So what we have to do is we have to select Scrap Mechanic as program to monitor. We have to select float in this drop down, and we want to filter the values on our initial scan. So first of all, a little bit information about this world. Each world has a 0 center point, which is roughly in the center of the world from what I have experienced by now. From there on, it can go into positive and negative, means you will be in both sections, in negative and positive, and you have that for X and Z. If you imagine that gives 4 sections in total. We are currently in the spawn section. That one is in general the section with negative X and negative Z. So if you know you are in this part of your world, you can just filter like this. The -10 is here because there are a lot of values from -10 to 10 which we don't care about if we are not standing on the center point, which I don't recommend for doing this. -100,000 is just a number which is probably never reached. The biggest numbers I have seen up to this point are probably 3,000 or 4,000. So this is what we could do now, but I'm going to show you the big one, and that is all values from -100k to 100k. For the simple case that you may not know on which part of your world you are, or that, yes, something else. You're unsure in general. So we do the first scan, and this now takes much longer, as if you would have used -10 here. You get a bunch of results which we in general don't really care about. This is 200 million values. That's a lot. So what we do is we filter it. We just walk a bit, and then we set the scan type to change the value. As you can see, there's nothing. Red means there's nothing changed. So we look for the changed values to filter everything which we don't really need. And this second step takes especially long if you have the whole range of values, of possible values. But there you see, it's over. And I'm not running on the best machine, thus I started this video again because the first recording was awful. I lowered all my resolutions and stuff. The next step is, as you can see there's a lot of red, so the next step is to check for unchanged values. And we're currently on 2.5 million. That is not much compared to before, where we had 200 million. And after this simple step, we are down on 500,000. So we can do the unchanged value step again, and the number would keep going down. However, it's more efficient to just switch to the changed value mode and run that one again, and we're down on under 200k. So the next step would be to switch to unchanged value again and run that again. And it's basically a bit of a ping pong game, because you're switching between changed value and unchanged value. Keep in mind that you have to stand on some not uneven floor so that you don't slide down some hill or something, and that you are never in a car, because cars have the nasty habit of moving you around like crazy. So after this scan, we are down to 77k addresses, and we can filter this even more by going back to unchanged value. Next scan type, 60. We could run it again, and the number would keep going down because the values keep changing, which we don't need. So I'm basically just spamming the next scan button, but this is not very effective once you're in this area under 100k. So what you want to do here is you want to check for changed value again, just walk, and then you do the next scan, and we're down on 25,000. That is much less than before. So we go back to unchanged value and run that again. If you have a look here, you can see these are all very small values. You don't have them if you exclude the -10 to 10 part. This is all this spam here. That's not all we need. Sadly, if we don't know if we're in the positive or negative section, we cannot exclude them, because Cheat Engine, I'm really afraid so, doesn't have an option for that. They only have exclusive, or kind of, they only have one side, and we need both sides of the middle part. So another technique, whatever I did now, but it sounds awesome. Next step, there we go, 16k. So the next step would be, oh, this is also awesome, to just look around. That is what I basically did. You just look around and do an unchanged value scan. If you just do that, you will always have some values which get filtered out. And as you can see, we're down to 5k. If you don't talk as much, if you're not explaining while doing this, you are a lot faster. I'm just doing it a little bit slower because of the recording. I'm sorry for that. But 5k values are obviously not what we can or want to use. So 3k is much nicer, but we want to go somewhere under 200, if not under the what was it? Under 100 itself. As you can see, there's a bunch of k values. That is very good when you're looking for positions, but these are not really floating point, or are even floating point values, so very unlikely that we need these. So at this point, I just go back to change value, walk a bit, and do another scan, and we're down on under 400. And it will always behave like this. It always goes down in these steps. It's very similar. So it should not really be possible for you to fail this. Except Scrap Mechanic behaves very different on different machines, but I don't believe so. So there we go, we're down on 94 values. That's basically our goal. We could filter this even more. As you can see, there's a bunch of different values, some small values which we don't care about. Let's do so just for the cleanness. The problem is these values, they made it to this point, they are very likely to be persistent. So what we do is we scroll down a bit, because like the bottom section is like the most likely to be relevant for us. And as you can see, there is a bunch of values with 21 at the end, every other value in fact, except some exceptions in the middle, which we don't care about. And that is a very good sign for that value to be the one we are interested in. So we double click it and wonder why the bottom part of this window has disappeared. Normally, if you're using not Scrap Mechanic, if you use Cheat Engine, there is a part right below here where you can see the values. Apparently that is the first time that this happened to me. So if this doesn't work, we kind of have to copy the selector address from here with right click. Else you could have double clicked on the selection down below and just copied the value from there. However, as you can see, there's a solid a constant distance from 0 to 4, which is 4 bytes, which is exactly the distance we need. So you can now insert the value into this path tracer tool which I wrote. Just keep in mind that the lower value has to be in the right window for reasons, and then we press done. And that's it. It's linked. It now knows the position. So there is one more thing to know about getting addresses. That is, if you die, only about 10 values will remain in this list, which are actually functional for your current position. All the others are invalid then. These 10 values, however, are persistent over your player dying, so it's the actual values which you want. If you have the chance to do a random suicide when doing this, it helps a lot. But however, you only need this once you died. So keep the window from Cheat Engine open until you died, and then you have a persistent value, and you should be able to work with this. So what I in general do is I mark the spaceship somehow. I add a waypoint by just clicking this and then on the map, and that is spaceship, which is the spawn point roughly around here. And what I can do, I can walk, and as you can see, it is apparently moving the point around on the canvas. I hope this won't lag too much because of my recording and this all. As you can see, it is also not drawing any line, and that is because of the default off. When it starts, the tracing is off because you may be at a point where you don't want to draw, and then you have to select currently one of the 4 colors. There is gray, which I use for streets, there's green, which I use for walking around in areas like this, there is blue for example water, and red for special paths. Let's use green for now, and then just walk to the garden area, how I like to call it. As you can see, I misplaced the spaceship label, so here we are at the garden position somewhere, and you can see it draw a line. As you can also see, there is some space here, and that is because it only draws a line once you moved over 15 units. It's kind of a debouncing to not spam everything with that, with data. So the next thing which I like to do is to use blue and mark lakes. As you can see, it continued at this point, which is generally not that desired. You can turn it off, move a bit to a different position, turn it on again, and then it resets the last position where the line ended. And as you can see, there's a gap. That is where we turned it off and moved. But in general, there we go. Our lake is marked. As you can see, there are a bunch of small issues here because of the way it works, and eventually I will add some addition functionality to this whole tool where you can drag the lines, merge them and delete and recolor them as you please. However, that is not yet the case because this is like the first release or first version I wrote in like 2 days, so yeah. And now we can turn the tool off because, like, let's say we have all the relevant paths we want to see. You could walk along the ocean coast, for example. It is possible for you to go anywhere in the world, map all the streets as you please. However, it requires you to walk wherever you want to draw a line, currently. And that is kind of nice, because then it doesn't read the seed, it doesn't read the tiles, it doesn't know that. It's an active process of you mapping the world because you are exploring it. I really like that kind of idea. There is one other thing to know, and that is these two addresses. I told you that this one should be lower in general. That may not always be the case, or sometimes you mess up or whatsoever. In that case, you can just swap them and press done again. It will relink the whole thing again, like the addresses read from them again. And how you can see that something went wrong if you, like, for example, make this line and this is the wrong shape. If this is not the shape you walked, like if it's the other way around, then you swapped accent Z, and then you need to fix it if, like, whatever it draws is utter bullshit. Sorry, I said a bad word. You can move the map, you can zoom in and out, you can press center again. Like if I walk here, you can see that the map is not zooming, not going along with the player's position, just the player's moving. You press center again and the whole thing is fixed. Then the map moves along with the player. And I think that is basically everything you need to know to use this tool. There will be changes, as I already said, for example, editing of label, editing basically anything. There eventually will be some bar at the bottom where you can actually see your coordinates and can see at which coordinate your cursor is, and tools like that, basically. Whatever I think is convenient for the tool. You may message me on Reddit, on Discord, on either the Scrap Mechanic one or on my personal developer Discord thingy. However, just be sure to ping me, else I might not see the message. And I don't know if I see Reddit messages at all. I currently believe I don't get emails from them, which is kind of an issue because then I cannot respond. I have to check that actively. Discord is better if you want to contact me. You can also use GitHub to make issues if there is an issue. If you just want to get help or do suggestions, please use Discord. And my name in general is always Econia, so it's quite easy to find me. Yeah. I hope you will like and use this tool. If not, well, your choice. In the first place, I wrote it for me, but since it's so convenient, I did make it open source and publicly available, and made this instruction video whatsoever. And I hope you will like it. So, see you. Bye.